Hey. Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming. I'm Deborah, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to this Declare Emergency special event. We have 5 great speakers with us tonight. They'll tell us about their work and help us invite each of you to join Declare Emergency in our next phase of nonviolent civil resistance actions in Washington, D.C. from October 1st to October 12th. All of our actions are aimed at winning our demand for President Biden to declare a climate emergency. We need your help. We need people on the ground in DC, people willing to match their actions with the urgency of this dire moment. After being inspired by our speakers, we'll go into breakout rooms where we'll talk about what we can all do now to help save humanity. There is no time to waste, so let's get started. I'll hand it over to Paul.
Oh, you're muted.
I think you're muted.
Sorry about that. So I'm Paul Severance. I'm very excited to be here. I'm excited you're here. And we're going to have a good night here. You're going to leave here inspired, and you're all going to sign up with us at Declare Emergency at the end of this. Ash Engle is our first speaker. Very excited to have her. She's active with the IKEA Collective. They most recently blockaded the Department of the Interior in downtown Washington, D.C., demanding that President Biden declare a climate emergency, just like our demand, and stop drilling on indigenous lands. Welcome, Ash.
Thank you so much, Paul. Thank you, Deborah, and thank you, everybody, for joining this call today. This call is so important. So I just want to say halako kwe, huisiye no lako. My name is Ash Engle. I use she, they pronouns. I'm with the Absentee Shawnee tribe of Oklahoma. I'm also Oglala and Chichangu Lakota, and I'm based here in Wajaji Territory, Osage land in so-called Oklahoma, born and raised. As Paul said, I am a member of the IKEA Collective. I also work with Rainforest Action Network. And IKEA Collective, is a grassroots, action-oriented collective that's based in Oklahoma, Texas, New Mexico, and Iowa that really believes that through direct action, another world is possible. And as Paul said, some of the actions that we did have the opportunity to take part of were the congressional baseball game alongside other friends here from Declare Emergency and shutting down the Department of Interior and painting climate emergency in the street. And I think that, it really is important that we do match our actions with the urgency of this moment. And I just want to share, a little bit about, the context both nationally and where I live here in Oklahoma. And so, here in Oklahoma, we are home to pipeline crossroads of the world. More pipelines intersect here than anywhere else. We also have extreme loose regulations around the oil and gas industry. And we also have a governor who is fighting our tribal nations in order to create an entire state that is a giant regulatory rollback for the fossil fuel industry. And so, when we found out that President Biden is really trying to sidestep his obligation to really meet this moment with the urgency that it requires by refusing to declare a climate emergency and signing this side deal with Senator Manchin, we understood that it was important for us to step up, to really make our voices heard, and to show up in Washington, D.C., where the decision makers can hear and see that, there are people who are going to be sacrificed in this deal, and we are not going to be sacrifice zones. And so, that's what's happening locally. Nationally, we see that, Manchin and Biden and Schumer have, created this side deal with the IRA, and they're really planning to create a lot of sacrifice zones in communities like mine. They're also intending to fast track the Mountain Valley Pipeline, which will impact my Shawagi, Cherokee, and other relatives who live in Appalachia. And it's really going to be, the people who live on the front line of the fossil fuel crisis, who are going to be most impacted by the climate crisis if action doesn't happen now. And so, people like me who live in Oklahoma, we can't always afford to make it out to Washington, D.C., onto the national stage to make sure that our voices are heard. And so I'm hoping that, one thing that y'all can take with you, not only looking up, our Facebook page and following our fight here locally, but, really taking these messages to the decision makers directly in Washington, D.C. And so I hope y'all do sign up. I hope you do show up with Declare Emergency with this campaign for direct action beginning October 1st. I hope that you show up to the next meeting so that you can get trained on how best to do that, and really make sure that, you're lifting up the voices from the front lines, because, with deals like these, with neoliberal deals like these, what happens is, yeah, people who live in privileged places have the luxury of being able to be unimpacted by these decisions. But people who live in places like Oklahoma, like Appalachia, like the Gulf South, and like the Arctic, we don't have that opportunity. And so we're really, hoping that, allies like y'all can take that action and show up and really, show Biden, show the nation that, we are in a climate emergency. These side deals are not enough. We need you to show up with the intensity that this moment requires. And that means unleashing your full power of executive authority and declaring a climate emergency, getting the resources to the communities who need it, and ensuring that our future generations have clean air, clean land, and clean water. And so, I just want to say thank you, everybody. Niawe, please sign up. And I'm going to go ahead and kick it over to my relative, Tariq.
Well, actually, let me introduce him first. Thank you, Ash. That was great. You are you're awesome. It's really good for you to highlight the struggles that you're going through there in Oklahoma, because obviously us people on the coast, we just don't know. So thank you. The next speaker here is Tariq Alkabu-Lan. He is a husband, a father of 3, age 7, 5, and 1. That's a lot of work right there. He's a climate activist, a DE supporter, who knows his kids are the reason to engage in nonviolent civil resistance, not the reason to avoid it. Tariq got arrested with DE in July. Tariq, take it away.
All right, thank you, Paul. Like to start off by saying peace be upon you all. It's good to see you all this evening. I guess before I get started, so much of what brings us here today is so much of where we've been before. I come from a little bit of an activist background even before joining Declare Emergency. I grew up in Richmond, Virginia. My parents were activists, and they were part of this group called Concerned Muslims for Change. So we were oftentimes active whenever there was any type of shooting or killing by law enforcement, or amongst gang members as well. And we would go into the communities, help them heal, work with the different gangs in that community to broker treaties and truces, and in order to, stop the bloodshed that was happening. And since then, that's kind of where I come from. So once it's in your blood, it's in your blood at that point. So fast forwarding to today, I moved to the DC area, and I got actively involved in a Muslim community here. In the DC area, centered on, Islamic activism centered around the prison industrial complex and stopping it, anti-military industrial complex. But so much more recently, you're finding in the Islamic faith, and also really all Abrahamic faiths as well, there's a lot more conversation going on about not just our responsibility to humanity, but our responsibility to creation itself. It is a God-given responsibility, and humanity is at this juncture currently dropping the ball. In my scripture, the Quran, at the creation of Adam, God says, I am creating a Khalifa on the earth. And Khalifa literally means custodian. It literally means a janitor, that all you do is clean up, you take care of, you manage it, and you keep it up in good shape. So I saw a flyer, I'm a regular guy, family of 3, husband, work and everything. I saw a flyer for Declare Emergency, and I already knew the plight that the human race was already in, and it was good to see that people were actually going to do something about it. I spent some time, kind of hanging around them and getting a good feel for them. Because you're always trying to figure out, are these people sincere? Are their hearts in the right place? And after being around them for about a month or so, I was like, yeah, they're sincere. So I went ahead and got involved. And before I knew it, we was all 13 of us sitting on the Beltway out there on 495, shutting it down on July the 4th, in an effort to get President Biden to declare a climate emergency. In my faith, we have a quote or a wisdom that says that you should take advantage of 5 before 5. That is your youth before old age, your health before your sickness, your wealth before your poverty, your free time before your busyness, and your life before your death. The human lifespan is incredibly brief, and we owe it to ourselves, we owe it to our families, and we owe it to our parents as well, the legacy that we're a part of, to use all of our talents while we're here on Earth in the service of humanity. And by getting involved with Declare Emergency, you get to play a critical role, or you will be playing a critical role in this key juncture in human history, where we actually get the opportunity to leave our footprints on history in of itself. So I implore you all to go ahead and get involved. I'm a man of faith. So much of my faith is what drives me and what brings me here today. There is a verse in the Quran that says, "Oh, you who believe, save yourselves and save your families from a fire whose fuel is men and stones." With everything going on around the world, with the climate change, the floods, the fires, the desertification, and so on, it's becoming obvious to me that fire isn't just some fairy tale. It's not something that's far off in the future. It's not in the hereafter. It's coming. It's going to be happening pretty soon if we don't do anything about it. And we owe it to our families to go ahead and get involved and to do what we can. Like the 5 before, some of us might not have, youth, so we might dedicate our time. Some of us might not have our health, so we might dedicate our wealth. One way or another, get involved. Because I know as a fact, I plan on doing something about that impending fire that's coming. And you owe it to yourselves. You owe it to your children. You owe it to your ancestors that came before you, to go ahead and get involved as well, and to leave your footprints on history, because you only live once. Thank you all. That's all I really have to say. Peace be upon you all, and thank you for your time.
Wow, thank you, Tariq. That was awesome. Really, thank you very much. That really means a lot to me, because we've had a lot of dealings in the last few months. What you said about us is really cool. Thank you. Thank you. So our next speaker is Adam McKay, who is the esteemed director of several films, including The Big Short. That was really good. I loved it. Vice, and most recently, Don't Look Up, like that one too. He's as pissed off about the inaction of our government as we are. And he was here in, I don't know if it was June, I think it was. Great person, great heart, and I'm glad he's back again. Adam, do you want to take it away?
Sure. Thank you so much, Paul. Thank you, Tariq and Ash. That was great. Hold on, I'm setting my screen. Man, oh man, right? My oldest daughter is a scuba diver, and she loves scuba diving. She actually got her master, she's 22, and she got her master diver's certificate. And she's incredible. I've done very tepid scuba diving with her because I'm not a serious scuba diver, and she can go very deep, and she's very knowledgeable. And so I've learned a little bit about scuba diving from her. And the key to scuba diving is situational awareness. That is the key. if you lose sight of the fact that you're on a slope, if you lose sight of time, if you lose sight of depth, you get into a lot of trouble. And to relate back to what Tariq said, there's also a breathing to scuba diving that is very meditative, almost religious, which is why a lot of people really have a connection to it. And I think in this moment, situational awareness is everything, because we know there are a lot of movements out there that are doing really great things about a host of subjects. I myself have been involved in working towards sensible laws for gun safety. I've been very involved in getting money out of politics. I've been very involved, I'm almost 55, so I've worked to get living wages for working people. A lot of things. I've been in marches against the Iraq war. And all of those causes are really important, but I have never, ever in my entire life seen anything like what we are facing with the climate crisis. And I'm going to go back to the scuba diving situational awareness. There was an article that came out yesterday, the Thwaites Ice Shelf, which I'm sure most of you know, is called the Doomsday Glacier. It wasn't supposed to break off till 2050, 2060. Researchers are now saying we have 2 to 3 years before that breaks off and sea level goes up 10 feet. I am here in Los Angeles. It is 98 degrees out right now, which is fine. It gets hot. Guess what the humidity is? 50%. I just heard we have a family member staying with us. She's from Salt Lake City. The previous record temperature in Salt Lake City for yesterday was 99 degrees Fahrenheit. Guess what the number was yesterday? 105 degrees Fahrenheit. Once again, most of you know this, but I think it's always important to check this situational awareness because we care about a lot of things. Like Tariq said, he comes from a family that was working against police violence. That's really important, really emotional, living in a country like the US with a history of systemic racism. But like Tariq discovered, this is a level of threat that we have never, ever encountered or imagined. The only thing that's close to it is the nuclear threat. And even that, honestly, at this point, is starting to seem a little smaller, although that's serious. So I think when I got into this, it was about 5 or 6 years ago that I really got scared. I read an IPCC report that really laid it out. And even at that point, I still knew I knew we were in trouble, but I still kind of in the back of my mind thought it was 2040, maybe 2045. And to see these thresholds crossed, like 40 degrees Celsius in the UK, wasn't supposed to be till 2050. Trees growing in the Arctic tundra wasn't supposed to be till 2100. That's when that was supposed to happen. So what you're all doing by being here isn't just honorable, isn't just brave. It is the only sane choice you can make in this world right now. This is the moment to put our flesh, our blood, our treasure, our reputations, everything on the line. Food shortages and water shortages are already here, and they're going to get incredibly worse. So the idea that we are here talking about the idea of the President of the United States declaring a climate emergency in the face of what we were looking at, the floods in Pakistan, Kentucky, the heat waves in China, the floods in China, the heat wave now in the West, you know, on and on and on and on. The list is endless, is madness. I mean, it shows that there is a Tower of Babel confusion by, I call it the economized culture, that everything is for profit. Even our culture, even the way people refer to themselves as brands. So the idea that we are here and the president is hesitating, calling a climate emergency. And by the way, we made this ridiculous, farcical movie, Don't Look Up. We really thought it was exaggerated. We have a scene in the movie where the president tells DiCaprio and Lawrence, relax about the comet that's about to hit the planet. We have the midterms coming up. Well, I have a lot of friends who are political reporters, and the word I'm hearing is the reason they're not declaring a climate emergency is because of the midterms. This is stark raving madness. And for the people that out there, and I know no one on this talk would say it, climate emergency is not symbolic. It opens up executive powers that are very important to what we need right now. And most of all, it's indicative. It's indicative of the fact, and you can tell, these people do not get it. Biden has done a little more than I thought he would do, but you look at the way Biden, Schumer, Pelosi, certainly the Republicans carry themselves, they don't get it. They have not done a scuba diving situational awareness check. Show up in DC. I'm working with the A22 Network in the UK and around Europe, and October is the month. That's the month. We need to put our bodies on the line. DC, New York, blockade banks that do invest in fossil fuels, blockade fossil fuel refineries, blockade the halls of government, blockade the media. The media has completely failed us. They are captured by big money. I'm ashamed. I have a lot of friends who work in media. I can't believe how much they have failed us. I'm all in. I'm putting everything I have into this. That's it. I'll end there. But God bless you all for being here, and solidarity, man. If I see you getting arrested, if I see you doing peaceful civil disobedience, which has a long tradition, as we all know, and that's what led to the labor movement, the weekend, the 40-hour work week, Indian independence, the civil rights movement. We're seeing an upswell in labor movement now. There is a long tradition, courage, solidarity, and respect.
Thank you, Adam. That was wonderful. I think I really identify with your comments about the Democrats, Pelosi, Schumer, those people. It just seems like they say all the right things, but they don't do crap. And we got to make them do crap, more than crap. We got to make them do.
And look at who they take money from. Open Secrets is a great site. You can see they take money from fossil fuels. The Democrats had a chance to deny fossil fuel money for their campaigns, and they reversed it. So it's always follow the money. Sorry.
That's okay. Thank you. So thank you. Again, great you're here. I'm glad you're here. So Michelle, if we have about 20 people at the University of Maryland, and I'm wondering if you can highlight them so we can see them. They're in person there at Lito's Pizza, which is a local landmark. Maybe they'll even cheer or something. These are Terps, right? Terps, come on, go Terps. Yeah. All right. I'm glad you're here. Thanks for coming. Oh, there's Nora. All right, thank you. Okay, so our next speaker is Crystal Mello, who is a mother, a grandmother. She's an activist, a community organizer, and a truth teller. She was a daily on-the-ground supporter of the historic Yellowfinch tree sits on the Mountain Valley Pipeline right of way, and she was herself a tree sitter. So take it away, Crystal.
Hi, y'all. Thank y'all so much for this opportunity to get the word out about y'all's actions that you're gonna start in October. I think that's wonderful. Yes, I live on stolen Monacan and Tutela land here in eastern Montgomery County. The Mountain Valley Pipeline is about 10 miles from my house here. I also live probably 15 miles from the Rafford Arsenal. That is also open burning. There's a group for that called Citizens for Arsenal Accountability, and they use the hashtag StopBurningNRV. So all this is connected. If you don't know about the Mountain Valley Pipeline, it's part of Manchin's Dirty Deal. We will be in DC tomorrow. Some folks will be lobbying. Then we're having a rally at the Taft Memorial Carillon. I'm sorry, like I've never been to DC to rally for climate change before. This will be my first time. It's at 101 New Jersey Ave Northwest. If you're close by, please come, or even if you're a couple states away, please come. Our direct action with the Mountain Valley Pipeline since 2018, we've had roughly 84 people arrested in direct action. We've had to come up with approximately $150,000 in bond money. Would be great if folks could donate to this Declare Emergency campaign, because if you can't be there and be on the ground, it's really good to have bail money or other things set up to support, which I found it's been a beautiful thing. Before I never started as a climate activist. This pipeline happens to be coming through my community. I helped find Roanoke Jail Solidarity a few years ago. I'm more on the abolitionist side, and we also started a Roanoke Community Bail Fund. And you know, the Mountain Valley Pipeline is a symptom of I describe it like this unjust system, the criminal system, crooked cops in courts. They uphold projects like this. The police brutality that we've seen here, I've seen some actions done in DC, like on live streams. I am a single mom. I clean houses. I cleaned 2 houses before this year, and I'll have a building to clean after this meeting. So, and that's what I think, and I love right now, is that frontline communities are really being listened to. We are being uplifted. Manchin with this dirty deal with Schumer has put MVP in the spotlight. I've had a article published in The Nation a couple of days last week, September 1st, on my son's birthday, which I would have never dreamt I would be in the situation where I'd have something published in The Nation, which, if you check it out, it has a lot of great links in it to describe the fight that we've been doing here since 2018. This project was proposed in 2014, didn't start getting built until 2018. They've currently lost all their permits. They can't go across the Jefferson Forest. Water bodies, like they're a very incompetent company. If this thing gets put into place, it'll be like adding 19 million cars on the road. It's a big deal, and they are trying to extend into North Carolina. That would be 75 miles. They're calling it the MVP Southgate extension. There's a group of Indigenous-led folks down there, 7 Directions of Service. You can check them out and see about their fight. But yes, I am super excited. and I am hoping to get to one of these dates on the 1st through the 12th. I encourage you taking part in the training that's going to be offered, the nonviolent resistance training. You'll learn a lot of great things, I'm sure. And we do need to think about another world as possible. As Ash had said in the beginning, I believe that revolution is not a one-time event. That's what taking down this fossil fuel company, this industries are going to lead to other things. We have to look at, you know, like I talked about before, the court system, the prison complex system. A lot of things need to change. And if we can all get together like this for the climate crisis that Biden needs to declare, you know, we can move mountains. And I appreciate all of y'all. And I just look forward to seeing what's going to happen. Come see us tomorrow in DC. And that's it. Thanks again for everything.
Thank you, Ash. I'm sorry. Thank you, Crystal. Yeah, there's a lot of us are going to be down there tomorrow that are in DC. We're going to be down there. And I like what you said about Senator Manchin. Everybody, he's very, everybody probably knows, but he's just corruption incarnate. He really is. He's awful. And I'm really sorry that anybody has to deal with him now. It sucks.
And we need to call Schumer out too. He's not getting enough grief, I don't believe.
Okay, that makes sense.
He's getting a lot of money too.
Yeah, they all are. They're bought and paid for. That's the problem. Problem's not figuring out how to solve the climate crisis. The problem's still figuring out how to change the power structure. So anyway, thank you. Okay, so going to our next speaker he's very well known in the climate movement. It's Peter Kalmus. He's a renowned climate scientist. He's an icon. He really is of the climate change movement. He helped found Scientist Rebellion. In April, he got arrested after locking himself onto the doors of JP Morgan Chase in Los Angeles. He's been a source of inspiration for a lot of us, and I'm really, really happy he's here. Peter, take it away, please.
Well, thanks, Paul, and thanks to all the previous speakers, and thanks to each one of you who's here. So yeah, I'm Peter Kalmus. I work at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. I'm speaking on my own behalf. And I think I want to talk a little bit about money and the madness that creates in people's brains. I want to talk about how meaningful it is to take part in climate disobedience, and then maybe a little bit about the stakes, like the irreversibility that we're facing. And maybe I'll start with the money madness, and it's been alluded to a couple of times here. I was, I don't know why I was surprised to learn this. Everyone knows how corrupt Manchin is, but Schumer also accepted $281,000 from the Mountain Valley Pipeline. That's part of what's behind this deal. And that's not well known enough. It should be much more well known. So they are all corrupt. And look at how Biden's not declaring a climate emergency right now. I hadn't actually heard that the reason was because of the midterms, but it totally checks out, right? And tens of millions of people being displaced in Pakistan, heat in California that makes me lose sleep. I can't stop thinking about it, and they're just sitting there taking their money and making these side deals and expanding the fossil fuel industry when it couldn't be more clear as a scientist that this is taking us deeper and deeper over the brink, deeper into climate chaos and catastrophe, which brings me to irreversibility. So I still don't think I think you guys get it, but I don't think the public understands what we're facing here in terms of how long lasting these impacts will be. So we're talking about heat for thousands of years into the future. That CO2, you burn the fossil fuels, goes up into the atmosphere. stays up there for a very long time and continues blocking the outgoing radiation. So it continues acting like a blanket on the planet for a very, very long time. So it's kind of like a ratchet. You burn the fossil fuels, the temperature goes up, and it's basically not coming down in our lifetimes, in our kids' lifetimes, and our grandkids' lifetimes for many, many generations. Then there's impacts like sea level rise. Man, like I can't believe people are still buying like low-lying real estate in Miami. I mean, it just speaks to how little the public gets where we're at right now. And yes, like Adam McKay pointed out, things are going much faster than climate scientists expected. I am shocked. But for me, a huge wake-up call was the heat dome up in the Pacific Northwest. That I did not expect that to happen so early. And then all of this stuff in the last couple of years just keeps shocking and surprising me. And now we hear about the Thwaites Glacier in Antarctica. I mean, that's just gonna, in a very short span of time, that could just render whole nations in the Pacific and huge swaths of coastline and cities and upend, you know, kill people, upend their livelihoods, upend the entire, you know, global economy yet again, right? And will people wake up even when that happens? It's unclear. And then we're losing species so incredibly quickly, right? And that impact could last for millions of years. So we're at this is a geological point. Earth is 4.5 billion years old. And here we are, you know, like 16 years ago, I was blissfully ignorant. Like that's how fast this is happening. And now I feel like this is so clearly the most important thing that we can be doing with our lives, the most meaningful thing that we can be doing with our lives. And if you are thinking about risking arrest in nonviolent climate civil disobedience, just commit right now in your brain to doing it. Do it as soon as you can. You will thank me later. It is the most liberating thing. If you're concerned about climate change, if you love your kids, if you're concerned about the trees and the coral reefs and the future of humanity, and you're fed up and you know you have all these climate emotions, the most liberating thing you can do is risk arrest and then possibly get arrested. You'll be basically joining the ranks of the most courageous, big-hearted, selfless human beings on planet Earth right now that are taking risks for other people. And the feeling, you know, the feeling of solidarity that you get from doing that, the feeling of kind of not holding yourself back anymore is a beautiful thing. So just commit to doing it and do it smart. You want to join with other people. Declare Emergency would be a great organization to meet up with so they can guide you through civil disobedience. You can choose, you know, how much risk you want to take on, and maybe you can have the support role at first. So you kind of warm up to the idea, but this is so much bigger than all of us. We really are nature defending itself. We are not doing this for ourselves. We are doing this for this gorgeous planet and for each other. So yeah, if you're at all thinking about this, don't wait, just do it. All right, that's all I got to say.
Thank you, Adam. That was wonderful. Thank you. It is scary. That's every time you tweet, every time you talk, that's what I feel like. Oh my God, what are we getting into here?
Sometimes sometimes it's like late at night and it's just like me and Twitter and the climate anxiety comes out. So yeah, sorry for
No, that's okay.
Just can't help it.
And I was wondering if, you know, we're doing actions from October 1st to October 10th, and I hear you live on the East Coast.
I just moved, so I just relocated from Los Angeles. Yeah, so
okay.
Now I'm here and available for actions.
Oh well, you should come up.
Yeah, I'm planning to. And there's more stuff happening too. COP27 is in November, and what a farce that is, right? I mean, we got to put what a huge failure COP26 was. What a joke. Mm-hmm. It was infiltrated by the fossil fuel industry, and the climate moderates pat themselves on the back and try to spin it as a success. What are they thinking? I mean, like to call COP26 a success, what if you wanted to stop climate action and make this worse, that would be what you would do, right? Is to say that that farce of a meeting was actually a success. So yeah, there's a lot of things to protest coming up. So a lot of opportunities.
Yeah, and if you want to come up, let us know. We'll certainly make a good place for you there.
I am itching to do more actions. I will tell you that.
Great. Maybe we can get other Scientist Rebellion. I know there's at least 2 other ones around here that we could get. But anyway, all right. Well, thank you very much.
I saw Rose Abramoff joined earlier too. So she's
she did great.
Inspiration
Hi, Rose, whoever you are.
Personally.
She's wonderful. I love her. Great. Okay. Let's see what we have next. We have, thanks, Peter. Awesome. All right. So, Peter was talking about all these people who get arrested. He was talking about himself. He was asking you to get arrested and other speakers as well. And I have to say, you know, congressional staffers are getting arrested protesting against their bosses. So it seems like more of us could get arrested too, don't you think? Scientists are getting arrested. I never dreamed scientists would talk the way Peter talked when I grew up. They were always in the middle somewhere. They were always just the facts, that's it. They're not like that anymore because they're fucking scared, like we all should be. So here we are. We heard 5 great speakers telling us that we're in the midst of the greatest challenge in human history, 200,000 years, and our government continues to do next to nothing. That's disgusting, and that's why DE is here. DE has a strategy that might work, no guarantees. I mean, we're really in deep shit here, but it might work. We want to massively disrupt the city that I'm sitting in, Washington, D.C., and force the government to declare a climate emergency. It's a first step. It doesn't take us far enough, but it's a necessary step. After we've achieved a climate emergency, we'll move on to a bigger demand. All the stuff we've been trying for decades, voting, canvassing, petitions, phone calls, marches, symbolic actions that don't involve massive disruption, they haven't worked. Look where we are today. After all that effort, look where we are, on the brink of extinction. And if you're doing that kind of stuff, expecting it to be enough, God bless you, because there's no reason to think any of it will work better going forward than it has in the past. So we can do whatever it is we're doing today and face extinction. 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 Or we can step it up, which means sacrifice and have a chance at survival. That's what DE is trying to do. All of us need to up our sacrifice if we're going to have a chance of succeeding. All of us, every single one of us. I quit my job at a bank where I worked for 25 years a few months ago to work on climate change full time. I don't get paid for this, and I frankly don't know how I'll pay my bills in the future. But it doesn't matter. It does not matter. It's that dire. I got arrested 6 times doing nonviolent civil disobedience with declare emergency in 2022. Many have sacrificed a lot more than I have, and I'll sacrifice a lot more if I have to. I will. And I'm telling you this because, as I said, we all need to sacrifice if we are to survive. And people need to see that sacrifice. It needs to be visible. What we're asking you to do today is to make the sacrifice of getting to DC during the first 2 weeks of October to help us change the world. Our strategy is aspirational. It requires mass mobilization to cause massive disruption on a sustained basis until the government does what it should have done all along, which is to do the right thing and stop using fossil fuels. We don't have the mass we need yet. You can help, all of you. And I'm going to be blunt. If you tell me, oh yeah, I wish I could help, but I don't have the time, my response is, find the time. We're facing extinction. Find the time. If you say you can't get arrested because you have kids, your kids are exactly why you need to get arrested. You say you can't make it to DC because you don't have money, we can help with that. And the people on this call can help by donating, which you'll have an opportunity to do in a few minutes. We're going to move to breakout rooms where we'll have facilitators guide you in how to take 3 important steps to support Declare Emergency's October action. Donate is number 1. Number 2 is take our nonviolent civil resistance trainings. And you don't have to be coming to DC even to take those. You don't have to be doing anything. You can take those and they're really valuable. So you should take them. We have one on the 11th and one on the 12th that you can sign up for. And the final one is to sign up and join the actions. So we have a lot of needs, but our biggest need is for people to risk arrest. Before you tell yourself you can't do it, you should know we'll support you, we'll guide you, we have a lawyer, we'll guide you through the entire process from the minute you get on the streets to the minute your case is resolved. Now, you might still be saying you can't do this. Well, you know what? In July, a mom who was 8 months pregnant helped us block the busiest road in the DC metro area for 2 hours. She had her baby about 6 weeks later, a really beautiful boy, and she didn't have that baby in jail, I want to tell you. And she acted with 12 other citizens, including a 78-year-old grandmother. So before you say you can't do it, think of those people. Think of the congressional staffers who are protesting against their bosses. Think about scientists who are telling you, get in the streets. Think about that before you say you can't do it. Okay, I'm going to end with this. This is really what it comes down to for me. Are you going to let big oil eke out a few more years of profits at the expense of your family's survival? I hope the answer is hell no. We don't have time to waste. There's no time to waste. You need to sign up today.